This is Chapter 1, Section 1 of Geometry. Chapter 1 is all about tools of geometry. And so if you think about geometry, it's really all over the room that you're sitting in right now. Think about some different geometry terms that could describe this room, such as points, line segments, parallel, perpendicular. There are aspects of the room that you're sitting in that can be described using these terms and more. And so geometry really is everywhere in our everyday life. And so we're going to learn some more of the theory of geometry so we can apply it to everyday life. And so section 1 is on nets and drawings for visualizing geometry. So our objective for today is to make nets and drawings of three-dimensional figures. All right, and so what I'd like you to think about is that when you shine a flashlight on an object, you can see the shadow on the opposite wall. What shape would you expect the shadows in the diagram to have? Explain your reasoning. So down here we have this 3D shape. And so what type of shadows do you think it's going to make? Well, if I look at the side that this first flashlight is shining on, well, that looks like it would probably make a triangle. And if I look at the shadow, the side that this flashlight is shining on, it's shining on a rectangle. So the shadow would probably look like a rectangle. And so those look like two-dimensional. The shadows are two-dimensional, but really the shape is three-dimensional. And so we have to start thinking about things like that. So some of our lesson vocabulary are net, isometric drawing, and orthographic drawing. So we're going to learn how to make those different drawings and how to make a net. And so what I'd like you to, let's talk about some essential understanding that you need to have for this lesson. You can represent a three-dimensional object with a shape, and we call that shape the two-dimensional figure using special drawing techniques. And so some of the special drawing techniques we use are nets. And a net is a two-dimensional diagram that you can fold to form a three-dimensional figure. And so it's if you were to take all the outside edges of a shape and lay them flat and unfold the shape, and then you could fold them back up and it would make all the different edges of our shape. And so it shows all of the surfaces or the faces in one view. And so down here I have a cube. And in this cube there's a net that I have drawn out. So here's the different sides. There's 6 sides, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And so if I look at this is the net that's all drawn out, and then here's the three-dimensional cube. If I put D right here and this side is D, well, what is this front side and this top side face is going to be? Well, if we think about that, if we're going to fold them up, the side right here, well, this one is going to be C. Alright, this one's going to be C. And if you look at, well, what's going to make up the top? Well, that C is connected to that E on top, which would then fold up with that D. So then E is what's going to be right up here. And so those are what those faces would be on that cube. And so if you start to think about it even more, here is that same cube. It's just got a different, that same net. It's just folded up differently. So then now we see that side B. If this is B, well, what letter is going to be up here and what letter is going to be on the side? If you look up at that net, B, right to the right of B is C, so that would mean that this would be C right here, and connect to the top of C is E, which would fold down and meet that B, and so we would have E right here. It would even be sideways like this. And so that would be the net all folded up. That's where all those different sides would be. And so here we have a graham cracker box, and so what we want to do is we want to draw the net for this graham cracker box. And so we're given the dimensions 20 centimeters, 14 centimeters, and 6 centimeters. So I'm going to start with drawing that front face that we see, that 20 and that 14. Alright, so there we have the front side, the one that we see, and so here's 20, and here's 14. Alright, and so then right next to that would be this side with the label on it. That's 14 by 6, so it's going to be, or it's 20 by 6, so it's going to be just as tall, but it's going to be about half the width. So we have that 20 again, and that's 6. And if we think about it, okay, well, that would only fold up to make 2 sides. There's 4 sides to this box, and so in the front there's this 20 to 14. Well, in the back there would be that same one, and so that would be connected right here. So this one's 20 by 14. And then there will be that other side that would be right here. That would be our 20 by 6, okay? And so there we have all the edges on the side, but if you think about it, well, the box is enclosed, so that means there's a top and there's a bottom. And so if we think about, okay, well, this top right here, that could be connected right here. And that's going to be, well, we know it's 14, but what would this length here? Well, it can't be 20 because it's smaller, so it's got to be that 6. And so there's also got to be one of those faces on the bottom, so that would be right here. It's going to be 14 again by 6. And so it's kind of a sloppy net, not my best drawing ever, but this would be the net of our graham cracker box. And so you can see all the different faces. The front face, which we see right here. Here's our front face, and that was right here. Our side, which is right here. Our back, which is in this back part, and our other side right there. The top, just the top of our box, and the bottom should be right down here in the bottom. Alright, and so here we have another figure. This one we have a triangular prism. So what will be the net for the figure at the right? Label it with the dimensions. Well, we know that there is a triangle in the front. So I'm going to draw that triangle to start with. Alright, and we know that it's 10 by 7. And if we think about the rest of this, okay, well, there was a triangle here, and now there's a rectangle. So there's got to be a rectangle right here. And we see that that's 4 by 10. Well, there's a triangle in the front, and there's that triangle in the back, so we can draw that other triangle. We know that this is 7. This is once again 10. There's the side right there, another rectangle. It's going to be 10 by 4 again. And then there's this shape on the bottom. Another rectangle, 7 by 4. And so there we have our net. And if you think about it, there's really multiple ways to draw a net. But the thing you just have to keep in mind is you need to make sure that all the faces are connected correctly and that everything is lined up with the corresponding sides. And if you were to visualize folding it up, and make sure all the sides would connect with the right sides. So is there another possible way to draw this net? Yes, there are several other ways you could draw it. This is just one. And so what we're next going to talk about are isometric drawings. So an isometric drawing shows a corner view of a three-dimensional figure. And so it allows you to see the top, front, and the side of the figure. So here you can see there's a corner here and there's a corner here. So it's allowing us to see the front, the right, and the top. So you need isometric drawing paper, or isometric dot paper to make an isometric drawing. So what that looks like is isometric dot paper just looks like this. There's a ton of different dots, but if you notice, I can draw a straight line all the way across. I can draw it down all the way across, and I can draw it all the way across this way, and that's pretty important as we're making these drawings. And so really what we need to keep in mind is a net shows a three-dimensional figure as a folded out flat surface. An isometric drawing shows a three-dimensional figure using slanted lines to represent depth. And so if we look at this, here we have a fun shape. You can see, okay, there's all these like vertical lines here. If it's dashed, it means it's kind of a line that's behind. We can't actually see that when we're looking at the front of the shape, but we know that it's there. But then all of these slanted lines that we see, like this one, that's giving us that depth and helping us see, oh, it's not just a two-dimensional figure, it is a three-dimensional figure. And so what I'd like you to do now is, here we have this cube, and let's actually draw this, these three cubes. Let's actually draw them in isometric dot paper. So I'm going to say that the cube is about 3 dots high. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and there were 2 cubes, so 1, 2, 3. And then it goes out 3, so we're going to go out 3. 1, 2, 3, and then that would be our first cube right there. Do you see that? And there's another cube out in front. 1, 2, 3. We can draw that one, but that one we can actually see it. So we're going to go over 3 again, up 3, and then we're going to connect it. And we can now see that first front cube. You see how as we connect these dots, it's starting to look more and more 3D as we draw this. And there we have our isometric drawing. If we wanted to, we could draw the dashed lines in. So we'd have a dashed line through here. How many of us? We'd have a dashed line through here that would connect up to there. We'd have another dashed line through here that would connect over down. And so we can see that the isometric drawing. And so now we have this cube structure here. I'd like you to pause the video and draw your own isometric drawing of this. And so here you can see my isometric drawing of these cubes. And check yours with mine. So we talked about isometric drawings, we've talked about nets, and so now we need to talk about orthographic drawings. So an orthographic drawing shows 3 separate views of a 3-dimensional figure. So it shows the top view, the front view, and the right side. Orthographic drawings take more time to analyze, but they provide unique information about the structure. So here we have this orthographic drawing. And so we need to take this drawing and we need to make it our orthographic, or it's isometric right now. We need to make it orthographic. So I'm going to pause and then show you, and then go through the different faces. And so here are the 3 drawings that I made. My first one is the top. And so the reason why it looks like this is if I think about it, okay, over in my drawing, I have this piece over here, and that's represented right here. Okay, if I were to look up that part. But then this part is taller, and so I gave it that line to show that, okay, it's a little bit different than the rest of the part. It's sitting up higher. So that's how I did that first part. And so then this next one is the front of my drawing. And so that's looking at it from that front angle. And so if I think about that one, from the front, I've got this large tower, and that's represented right here. And then I have this little piece I can see there. And the reason why there's this dotted line right there is because, well, this shape does extend out. And so I drew a dotted line there so that I know that this shape extends out more that way. It's not just these two pieces I can see. And so the next one is our right angle. And so if we look at that right one, that's going to be from where it says right, from that angle. And so on this one, we can see 3 boxes across the front, which I represent with the 3 boxes, and there's a height, so that I have that height represented. But these 3 boxes are at different levels. This middle one is farther forward, and so I drew these 2 red lines here to show that that box is farther forward to me. So if there's a shadow back, we draw that dotted line that we did over in the front. But if there's something that's farther forward, on the right we drew those 2 lines around it, and on the top we did that too with that taller piece. And so that's how we do an orthographic drawing. Hopefully you're a little bit more artistically talented and you can do a little bit better job than I can with these. And so I'd like you to pause the video now and to make an orthographic of this drawing. And so here's what I get from my orthographic drawings, from the top, from the front, and from the right. You can check yours with mine, make sure that we agree. So that's the end of our video. Now you just have your homework assignment to do. Section 1-1, it's out of your textbook, 7 through 19 odd, 20 through 29, 31 through 37, 44, 45, 49 through 51. And you will need some isometric top paper, so make sure you get that from me. Alright, good luck.